about games, and I feel like we have built a good program. And so what I tried to do to prepare for this was to think about what did we do, and then what are the things that might help somebody else. When you start out, you think about, first of all, you got to convince somebody that it's a good idea, and that's on you. I can't help you with that. But ultimately, I hope that all the administrations and athletic directors, think of athletics as a good thing, adding the sport is a good thing, it gets more kids playing sports. That was certainly the attitude that was taken as a kid. So what do you got to have? You got to have coaches, you got to have a field, you got to have equipment, and you kind of have to have players. The coaches piece. So in Georgia, you have to have an employee of the school, a teacher, a certified teacher to be your head coach. And then you can have assistant coaches, and they can either be teachers or they can be community coaches, and they work outside of school. They go through a training program that allows them to coach. How do you, as a community coach, which I'm assuming most of us here, that's what we would be or are, what are you looking for in the school coach, and how do you interface with that person? I think that's really important. We've had 3 different people at Decatur, and they were all kind of different in their approach. The one I like, honestly, and maybe I would have been threatened by this in the beginning, but we have a young guy now who, he's a sports guy. He played soccer growing up. He knew nothing about lacrosse when he started, but he's interested in sports, and he's interested in winning, and he's interested in the kids, and he's interested in our program getting better. And so for a guy like that, what you want to do is find something for him right away. Maybe it's conditioning. Conditioning in soccer, lacrosse, basketball, probably not that much different. So allow him to focus on that, and then teach him. Tell him what the heck's going on, and gradually over time, he's going to become more and more of really a part of your staff. And I think ultimately that's what we should all want, is that guy is part of it. You rely on that guy a lot for the interface with the administration. Your kids are always going to get in trouble. There's just going to be issues, grades, and you really rely on that guy to handle that stuff. In terms of finding community coaches, the more coaches, I guess there's an upper limit, but I don't know where it is. More coaches is generally better. And so how do you find them? I hear that all the time. People call me a lot, like, hey, we're looking for a coach. The best thing we've ever had, honestly, is advertising. All these websites, Lax Power, you can advertise. The Georgia High School website, you can advertise. US Lacrosse, you can advertise. You don't know. People move to Atlanta all the time, and the lacrosse guy, they're not going to know where to start. So they start where the opening is. So that's what I would suggest on that. In terms of your players, okay, what we did at Decatur, and this probably more than anything, I think explains why we've been able to be successful, is we started out with a rec program. So I said we started in 2005, but we really started in 2002. We're just a town, and Decatur's just a little town, I don't know, 20,000 people. And so we convinced the rec to start this thing. And so we started developing players. When the oldest guys in the rec got old enough, they out in the rec, then we went to the school. When we went to the school, it was actually the AD's idea, why don't you think about starting as a JV? Most of your kids are young. We did this with softball. It helped us with getting the snot beat out of us. And, softball had a nice model because they had gotten good. So we said, yeah. So we played JV actually for 2 years. Now, I know not everybody can do that. Some counties have rules about it and all. But if you're allowed to do that, I recommend it. And you can actually have seniors. If you only have a JV, unless they change that rules, you are allowed to have seniors. But, we didn't have many, maybe 1 or 2. And then, mostly we were a young team and we grew up. So then we get to that point, when we're, a couple years in, and then we started playing varsity. And the other thing I'll say about that is you don't want to ever neglect that rec program that started you. And the ways that you do that, the rec's got games, right? They need reps. Always encourage your guys to get certified for reps so that your high school kids they're down there, they're repping the games, which makes them, by the way, a better player and a better person. And they are interfacing with the kids. They see the kids that they see, kids that are somebody's little brother, or they live in the town, live in your neighborhood, whatever. And so that's one way to keep it moving. The other way is with clinics. So our rep likes to do, early in the season, they do these big clinics where they bring all the kids out on a Sunday usually, Sunday afternoon. And what we do is we make our guys go and help the coaches run the clinics. So, you've got 70 boys and 3 or 4 coaches where you can't do it, but throw our guys in, you can do small groups. So that's another way that you can help with it. In terms of money's an issue for you. In terms of getting started, U.S. Lacrosse, I'm plugging now here for that. This thing here today was awesome for me. I hope it was for you. Our chapter did this, and I encourage all of you to join. Get your players to join. It doesn't cost very much money. And it's an organization that can really help us grow the game here in Georgia. But anyway, U.S. Lacrosse has a new start program. So our first year, that first JV year, we applied for their U.S. Lacrosse New Start grant. And we got it. And they sent us 20 of everything. 26, shoulder pads, arm pads, gloves, helmets, the whole nine. And that saved us because I don't know how we would have gotten the thing started. Because we have underprivileged kids on the team. I mean, their parents aren't writing $500 checks or whatever it would cost, $250, $300 to outfit those kids. So if money's an issue, that's a way that you can get around that. I don't think just anybody would get. I think the fact that we had 35% of the student body on free lunch helped us. But if you have that in your, as part of your deal, I think you should try. Next, I'm going to talk about the early years. So now we're like in year 1 to 3, somewhere like that. And I'm going to tell you flat out, you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to win enough games that the kids stay interested, the parents are not, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. And just get through it really. Part of that is scheduling. Everybody's got to play in their area, right? So if you got an area that's got 2 or 3 big teams in it that are going to beat you by 10 plus, that might be the only good teams you want to play. And then you might want to find some teams that are really where you are worse off that you might be able to beat. And then you're going to find the lion's share of your games are going to be kind of in the middle there where they're going to be competitive games, and hopefully you can win a couple of those and boost the confidence of your kids. But I think that's important. When I took on, I think some guys they think, well, that should be the school coach, right? If you put that on the school coach, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't know what the heck you're going to end up with. They may look at like, well, we're going to play everybody in our region for other schools. So you could end up with 5 or 6 more games where you're just going to get the crap beat out of you because your coach didn't know who was good and who wasn't good. So I took that on myself. It's a little bit of time, but with email, it's really not that hard. And I would suggest that, even when we were bad, I put a lot of effort in the schedule. The other thing that you want to do at that time is really pound the fundamentals. And I know that I started out coaching was rec basketball. And you walk out there with a bunch of 9-year-old and 10-year-old kids, and you're going to try to win a basketball game, and it really easily becomes quickly jump ahead to, okay, well, we're going to get into some kind of a set, we're going to play zone defense, and at first, and you spend a lot of time in practice doing that, at first it pays off, and you're like, oh, this is good. And then by the time the season's over, you realize that coach has spent most of his practice teaching his kids how to dribble, and pass, and shoot. And you beat him in the first game, you get to that end of the season tournament, and he whacks you. Why did he whack you? Because he taught his players how to play. Not how to win, but how to play. When you're in your first 3 years as a lacrosse program, you've got to learn how to play first. And so what that means is you're going to be spending a lot of time catching, throwing, scooping, playing that individual defense that Coach Jaden talked about. That's what you're going to focus on. The other thing is defense. Playing good, solid defense is going to help you in those early years. Our first game was JV game. Our very first game was right here, whenever that field is here. So Davis Lukens, who is familiar, he was probably one of the best players to ever play at Ole Miss. I guess he was in the 9th grade. He scored 10 goals on us. 10 goals, one guy. We lost like 16-1. One guy had 10 goals. Luckily, the guy who had answered our ad in the paper and was going to be our defensive coach had come to watch. He'd never been to practice, but he watched that game. I mean, the very next day, he said, we will never, he said, I don't know how good we can be, but never again will anybody ever score 10 goals on us. Never let that happen. And so we started putting a lot of time and effort into team defense. Probably the most time and effort we put into was fundamentals. Second most was team defense. Because what happens is if you can keep the other team under control in terms of their scoring, then you got a chance. And your offense gets a little bit better. So those first years, I mean, we've lost a lot of games 5-4, 6-3. We lost. But when the game was over, you're like, as a coach, you're thinking, a couple more plays and something here and there, we might have won that game. But if you're giving up 12, 14, then it becomes tougher to even think about being able to win. The important thing when it comes to defense is get your butt in the hole. You've got to teach your kids to get in the hole. If you just cut out all the BS, unsettled goals that you give up because you didn't get back and set, you'd be amazed. Well, who said it? I think Mutual said Pressler broke the whole freaking thing down, and 86% of the goals were some form of transition. And it's transition when one of your defensemen goes and chases a guy 20 yards from the goal and ends up 10 yards behind him. That's transition. So you got to teach your guys. You just keep it tight, make them come to us, make them earn the goals that they get. And, if you're against good teams, you're still going to give them up, but maybe not that many. So next thing is some kind of your philosophy about the rest of the time. So you get these guys from February 1st to May, whenever your season ends, and then they got the rest of the year. I will say, you can't be a successful program. When I say successful, that means you make the playoffs most years. I don't think you can do it in Georgia now if your players put their stick down on May 15th and don't pick it up until February 1st. It's not doable. So you need to convince your guys, and even if it's just, a month out of the summer, they get on a travel team, or they go to some camps, or you find a summer league, but you got to get them, playing, and then in the fall, you want all your guys that aren't playing in football or cross country, which I think are the only 2 fall sports there are for boys. You want to get those guys playing in a fall league together. I mean, that's what we've done. When I say you want to, I'm really just telling you guys what we've done, but I think that's important to get them playing in the fall. And even if it's just once a week, but they're out there playing, and that'll make them think about picking up their stick and playing some wall ball in between, because they don't want to look like a doofus on Sunday at fall ball. The other thing is about other sports. Like I said, we're the smallest school, so we got maybe 900 students out of 450 boys. Out of that, 200 of them will never play a sport in their life. They care nothing about it. So now we're down to a small number. We're sharing that. We got baseball, soccer, golf, tennis. There's a lot of sports in the spring, so we're sharing a very small number of sports. So we don't have there's not that many kids, and those kids are athletic. These other sports are after. So whether it's football, whether it's basketball, wrestling, most of our guys play those sports, and we don't discourage that. And in fact, actively encourage. Right now, I got 9 guys in basketball. That's, a little scary, because if they go deep into the state tournament, we'll be getting them almost a third into our season. But playing basketball makes those guys better lacrosse players. Guarantee it. Playing football, if they survive it, don't come out with a broken leg, they'll be a better lacrosse player for it. I think even cross country, I think, it's just kind of that school spirit, being part of the team. Guys in cross country running to staying in shape a little bit. It's better than, getting in trouble all fall, which is kind of, for some guys, that's the other option. So I would suggest that you want to encourage that. Strength and conditioning, I'll close it up with that. The best thing that's happened to us in the last few years is the school hired somebody to do strength and conditioning. I know, I doubt every school does it, but I think some do, and I think some teams will actually pay to have strength and conditioning. But, having that, our guys are working out with strength and conditioning coach from the first day of school up until Christmas time. And then in January, they're working 5 days a week, so that's usually 2 days a week. 5 days a week in January, some of that's with strength and conditioning, some of that's with the lacrosse coaches, and that's more running oriented. But our team, our confidence as a team went up when we got stronger. Because I think our guys felt like, we may not be as talented. We played Bill and Lambert and Lasser in the playoffs, and we always lost. But gradually over time, I felt like we felt like maybe we don't belong with them as a lacrosse team, but as athletes, we belong here. And when you think as an athlete you belong, then you're halfway there. You get a little lacrosse skill, the next thing you know, you're going to be beating. I'm sure there's a million things that we did that I left out, but I tried to hit the highlights. I'm happy to ever entertain questions or calls from people that are trying to do it, but is there any questions now?
Yeah, there's always athletes that have never played, and then the kids that came up through the rec program. What was the ratio when your final varsity roster? What was the ratio of those kids that had started at 9, 10 years old?
Well, I'll tell you the best story. Kind of the ending's a little hard for me, but the best story. So we had a kid that was first team All-State midfielder. That's Simeon Johnson is his name, #1. He's a tremendous player. He didn't even know what lacrosse was until 9th grade when he showed up. And he was athletic and he worked at it. And I found out, after all 4 years of coaching him, I found out probably the #1 reason. His mom dropped him off at school an hour before school every day so she could get to her job. And he played wall ball at the school every day before school. And he worked at his skills. And he,